Welcome to Beyond the Velvet Rope with Neal Oates Jr., the podcast that takes you on an extraordinary journey into the world of luxury service. Join us as we unlock the secrets, stories, and strategies behind exceptional experiences. From anticipating VIP needs to crafting unforgettable memories, we'll guide you on a path to service excellence in the realm of the affluent. Let's elevate your expertise and redefine the art of world-renowned service. Here's your host, Neal Oates Jr.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Beyond the Velvet Rope. Neal Oates Jr. here, and we have more than a special guest. We have a brother of mine, Mr. Ben Finley, on today. Ben, good to see you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. All we're going to do as we go beyond the velvet rope, Ben, you and I, we're going to have some lively conversation, and we're going to allow our listeners and our viewers to just eavesdrop just a little bit as you and I have some good convo. What do you think about that?
I'm ready. First time ever, so I'm on you, man.
So Ben is popping his podcast cherry with Beyond the Velvet Rope, and I couldn't think of a better time, better way, or better person to do this with. So first, I know who you are, but would you share with our audience just who is Ben Finley in whichever way you would like to do so?
Well, that's a complicated question to ask me, but as I tell clients down here, I mean, it's obvious that you can tell by the way that I talk, I'm not from South Florida. I'm originally from Bloomington, Indiana. I went to college at Indiana University. If you know what a Hoosier is, or even if you don't get more Hoosier than me. I moved down here to South Florida in 2001. I played golf in college at IU and fancied myself as a professional golfer when I got out of school. And in my opinion, based on some of the tournament experience that I had had in the late 90s, I thought I was pretty good. So I wanted to come down and play in some professional events here in South Florida. And that's how I ended here. Hate to say it, it's pretty obvious. I don't play professional golf anymore. I'm in the title world. So it didn't quite pan out the way that I had envisioned, but I didn't leave South Florida, and I've been here ever since.
All right, so Ben, here's where I think it's interesting, right? So we are sitting here on Beyond the Velvet Rope talking about the world of the affluent luxury. You just started a new endeavor, which we'll mention here in a moment, but your dreams of coming from Indiana to South Florida were around this game, around this beautiful nightmare that we call golf. And it seems that everything is sort of coming full circle, because when people think of this game of golf, they don't think of it as a poor man's sport, right? They think of it as a gentleman's game. And so even before we talk really about business, would you just share with our audience because if I'm not mistaken, I believe you got introduced to the game of golf at a very early age. So what have you been able to learn and take away from the sport, from the game, from this obsession called golf that you're implementing into your life, whether that's personal or professional?
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple of things that when I think about golf that resonate with me. The great thing about golf is it doesn't really matter what your skill level is. It doesn't matter what your gender is. It doesn't matter how big or strong you are, how small you are. Every golf course has multiple sets of tees, and the thing that and even how old you are, because now I'm an old man in golf circles. So it's the competition that keeps me coming back, no matter how bad I've played the weekend before, or the tournament that I played before. It's a game of it's a competition, with you in the course, and it's like, I mean, it really has kind of kept me rolling, through my life. The thing about golf, it's always been there. Golf has always been my friend. I had some dark moments as an adult that that I had to sort through, but golf was always there. And as I've gotten older, I get to play with some very dear friends of mine. I play still competitive amateur golf in tournaments, and those guys are my friends, and I get to see them when I'm out there. I think the other cool thing about golf is it doesn't matter what income level you're at. There are golf courses that are daily fee public courses that we can play. There are private clubs for those of us that are lucky enough to afford membership at places like that. But, it's accessible now more than ever, I think. And I think a lot of that had to do with Tiger Woods, 25 years ago. I think he brought the game to a group of people that didn't think that they would even care to ever want to do it or like it. It became cool. Is that you?
Hey Ben, I'm that guy, right? I am the evidence of not only Tiger, but I'm the evidence of being exposed to people such as yourself who were like, "Hey Neil, why don't we just go to the range and hit some balls?" And it was a game that I was terrified of, right? And I'm sitting here like, Ben, the only movies or the only depiction of golfers that I have ever seen, not a single one of them has been a good thing. Where they're like, "Oh, come here, let me show you how to hold the club. Let me show you the etiquette of the game." Is always fix your divot, move out of the way, hurry up, you're playing too slow. And that was the worst representation. And so that's what I had to go by until I got around you and I got around some of your peers and some of our connections. And I started to enjoy the game because the game was being played the right way.
Yeah, I mean, look, the game of golf is great too because if you're playing competitive golf, there are rules that everybody has to abide by, right? And there is etiquette when it comes to golf. And I remember, the story. I'm gonna share this story with you because Neal had come to me and said, "Hey, I'm going to play this really upscale club. Can you go with me?" And I unfortunately could not go that day that he was going. But I said to him, there's some things that you need to know. And the reason why I told you that is because, I've been playing since I was 9. I played in college. I played overseas, and I've had the great honor to have played at some really nice courses. And not long ago, I pulled into a very, very private club in up north of Palm Beach, and I'm changing my shoes in the parking lot, and a kid comes flying out in the car. "Sir, you can't do that. You got to go in the clubhouse." And I'm like, "Oh, man." So yeah, so that was one of the things that I told you. I said you got to bring a shoe bag and bring your shoes in to the clubhouse and change your shoes in there. And I'm sure that when I told you that, you were like,
No, no. So Ben, here's what, and I want our audience to grab this, right? So Ben and I are sitting here having conversations, but I was a novice and I'm still a beginner. But when Ben shared information with me, I came in from the position of being grateful and showing gratitude because he had made a mistake in the past. And in his effort to keep from me experiencing that same thing, Ben said, "Neil, get a shoe bag." And he knew the courses I had played previously. Man, we're putting our shoes on in the driveway, in the parking lot, right? As we're getting out of our cars. And so for me to leave that day and go to a Golf Galaxy and get a nice shoe bag made all of the difference. In fact, I even looked better than the guy that introduced me and whose guest I was at the venue. And so, if nothing else, make sure you have people in your circle because our goal is to really level up in life. So, you want to find good people to be around, but also people who know more than you, like Ben did when it came to golf, so that he could enlighten me and give me some pointers on that journey. Now, Ben, this is where I want to go because we haven't talked about what you do professionally now since you didn't make it as a professional golfer, but there are going to be some correlations and how we bounce back and forth with this. So now you are in the title industry, in this title game. Tell us what it is that you do in the world of title.
I mean, that's a question that has multiple answers. So, the title company, in short, really supports the real estate industry and the mortgage industry, and we do that in a number of ways. We hold escrow deposits for buyers on real estate transactions. We make sure that the title of the property is free and clear of any liens or judgments, right? We communicate with homeowners and condo associations, and we make sure that the seller of the property doesn't have any kind of pending liens or any kind of assessments that we need to know about. So, we also fund the transaction. We pay the real estate agents. We pay the sellers, their net proceeds. And, we also, most importantly, is we insure each transaction by issuing a title insurance policy. It's a job that has a lot of responsibilities for each and every transaction that we do. And it's not easy to answer in 2 or 3 minutes. It takes a little bit of time.
And in addition to all of that, now you're also out marketing, you're being the face, making sure that you build connections and relationships. And that's where I want to go, because you talked about golf always being there for you as an adult, maybe getting you through some stuff in life. But our relationship is a lot like your relationship with golf, in the fact that for a dozen years now, at least, you have always been there for me. I look up at an event and I see you. And so would you just talk about the trust factor and being consistent when it comes to working with clients, when it comes to building relationships, and how much that plays a role in your business?
So the model, and by the way, my company's name is Luxury Title and Escrow, and we're attorney owned and operated. My business partner is an attorney named Seth Kimmel, who I met several years ago when I worked at another title company with another friend of mine. And most title companies, when a real estate agent brings a file to the title company, they have a relationship with a processor, right? Now that processor is going to make sure they're going to manage that file from beginning to end. The problem is, and this is where a lot of title companies kind of differ than us, is that most real estate agents don't work from 9 to 5, but pretty much all title processors do, right? So one of the things that we do differently is I have all of my clients in my phone, and I take phone calls at night, weekends, and I try to work the same hours that, a busy real estate agent would work. So if you need something right away, Luxury is going to be able to help you instead of having to wait maybe until the next morning or maybe till that Monday, right? And listen, here's the tough part about sales in general. And I use this, in my personal life. I've been getting my hair cut from the same woman for the last 8 years. She's a friend. She's not the best hairstylist that I've ever had in my whole life. As a matter of fact, she makes me nervous because the TV's on in the barber shop and she's always watching the news, and I'm losing my hair. So I'm thinking, well, the last thing that I need is for you to be screwing this up, right? So I sit there all stressed out. I pay her, I come home and I realize, she's missing one here. So I'm having to clean up her mess on the own. But guess what? I haven't gone to anybody else in the last 8 years, right? And, because she's a friend of mine. And so you run into a lot of that in the marketplace in real estate. Realtors get comfortable with who they've been doing business with for a long time. So it's really hard to break that relationship, right? And you need to be able, as a title company, you need to be able to provide a level of service that maybe, their other title companies not providing to them. But that might not even be enough, because you might not ever even get a chance to show what you got, just because of how we are and human nature. We dance with the devil we know rather than the one that we don't. And so it's a challenge. People think, look, sales is hard, right? It's really hard. When you're selling a service, it's even more difficult.
Yes,
because you cannot mess up. And I'm telling you, Seth and I laugh about this all the time. If we had every client that we ever got from the beginning of our career, we'd be retired, right? But people go for some reason or another. Maybe they didn't like the way that the processor answered the phone one time. Maybe the documentation was late to get to the client. It's a very competitive, cutthroat business out there. It's an industry that, I can't believe how many title companies there are. And it seems like they keep opening up more and more. So you can't make mistakes. No mistakes allowed.
No mistakes allowed.
And that's why you got to be in sales, because you can't just sit around with the group of agents that you have. You've got to always be going out and trying to get more and recruit more to come in and work with you.
Now, one thing I know about you and that I've known about you and I admire about you is that you have a client service philosophy, right? So your whole thing is how can we be in constant contact with our clients? How can we serve them? How can we give them exceptional experience? Can we deliver above and beyond? So how does that impact your client satisfaction? Because you said that you have to be on, that you can't make mistakes. So whether it's the communication, the quality of the service that you provide, how is that impacting your retention, your client satisfaction, or maybe the number of transactions that you're seeing as a title professional?
Well, I definitely think that I've been fortunate to have brought on real estate agents over the years that maybe didn't bring me the business to begin with. As most of you know out there, certainly Neal, you know this. There's usually a buyer's agent, and then there's usually an agent that represents the seller. And so I spend a lot of time communicating with that other agent, right? And I hate to tip my hat and give away all of my tricks of the trade, but quite frankly, I didn't invent any of this. I was taught by some really good guys in this business, and I'll talk to you about them in a little bit. We make phone calls as soon as the contract comes in. We send out welcome emails with all of our contact information. We use a secure closing portal, so the buyers and sellers know that social security numbers, birth dates, marital status, payoff
Hold
information.
on, Ben. All of that stuff that we as real estate agents have floating in our inboxes to be hacked and pulled out, it is not going to Ben's email, ladies and gentlemen. They have a secure system, so you don't have to worry about any breaches coming from Luxury Title. And
Yeah.
so I know that's one thing. So you mentioned that. And here's what I love about you. So there are things that we take for granted in the industry, whether it's real estate or in life or in title, but you do a great job of highlighting these important factors for your buyers and sellers that we might forget about. So where does that come from, that desire and that need to say, well, don't think that just because it's normal in the industry, we make sure we tell you about the process, that we tell you that your sensitive information is going to be taken care of. Where does that come from, Ben?
Well, quite frankly, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have been trained by some pretty wonderful people. Roger Lucas and Mike Steiber, who started Masters Title 10, 12 years ago. I was working with them. Seth Kimmel, who's my attorney and my business partner now, has been very influential. My ex-wife, Tammy, who we had a marketing team with for many years, she had been in title for many years, actually running an in-house title company in Orlando, and had taught me a lot about this business and how you want to present yourself with the agents. And really it all boils down to this: we want the agents to feel like we're an extension of them. you know if you're an agent that's out there trying to get referral business, and you have an excellent title company, and you have an excellent insurance agent, and you have an excellent mortgage company or two that you work with, you have like a power team, so to speak, right? And to be able to get referral business because these teams that you put together have done such an excellent job for you is really important. So we don't I don't get into deep conversations with the agents about, this is, when we introduce ourselves to, offices and things like that, we talk about that. But in terms of like the day-to-day operations, I want to treat each and every one of these buyers and sellers like they're my client. I'm an extension of the agent. So I'm going to communicate at a level equal to or higher than what the agent has been. Because
Awesome.
ultimately, you're going to see me at the end of this transaction anyway. I'm closing the deal, right? So, it seems pretty darn important that we do that, and
Yeah.
it seems to have worked. It seems to have really worked, with what we're trying to do.
And so you mentioned with what you're trying to do. So you mentioned your training that you've had for a decade plus in this industry. And then you talked about this new thing that you're doing with luxury title. So let me ask you, how does it feel to not be the new kid on the block, but to be the new kid on the block, right? Because luxury title is this new baby that we have brought to being with you and Seth. And so how do you manage, or how do you handle the feelings, the emotion, the process of being in long enough to be seasoned, but to be starting a new thing that's yours? What are the feelings? Just talk to us about that.
It's fearful a little bit.
Hold on. For our audience who is watching the video version of this, and you saw Ben's face there, you understand that this idea of going from being a part of and working for to having, doing, and being this thing and it being your thing, totally different deal. So, Ben, you said it's fearful. Go ahead, brother. I am all ears.
Well, I mean, look, anybody that really knows me, and there's going to be quite a few people out there that don't know me, but I don't really hide from who I am or what I've been through. But I've been sober now for almost 9 years, right? Now, I got sober when I was 46 years old, which means that I've only been a grown up for about 9 years, right? And I look back on the life that I used to live, and I have regret because I squandered a lot of great opportunity in those formidable earning years, with the drinking and the using that I was doing. But the thing is, yeah, I mean, I'm not a young guy, and it is scary opening up your own thing, right? The one thing that I can say is that I'm much more equipped to be in this position than I ever would have been 10, 12, 13 years ago. I mean, look, the hard facts are, had I not been working with two of my very good friends, I probably wouldn't have been employed at that time, right? So, I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in now. It does take work. I have to work at my recovery every single day and treat it just like somebody who, has a physical ailment, right? I have to do something every day to make sure that I don't go back to the life that I was living before. But with all that being said, I'm in a good place now. I feel like my professionalism is at a level that it never was before. And the highs aren't as high, but the lows aren't as low. And I'm, and I'm able to roll with the punches better, I guess, and be able to handle, some of the things that are going on. I mean, right now in our office, we are extremely busy, extremely busy. And, these are the moments where if a ball is dropped, that could create a problem down the road, for any business that you might have been able to generate. And we're able to, instead of freaking out in my head and kind of losing it, I'm able to like take a deep breath and drop in and do what I got to do to help everybody out, right? I couldn't possibly have done that 10 years ago. So right. Everybody runs their race at their own pace. They all do. And this is the path that I'm on in life. And it's not without its issues, and it is scary. I mean, look, this market has not been good, Neal, for several years now, and we're still able to pay bills. You know what I mean? Like, I'm blessed in the fact that I could say I still have a roof over my head. My dog still has food in her bowl. I'm able to maybe go out and play a couple more rounds of golf than what I used to. But the market is very difficult, and oh, man, I'm hoping things will turn around soon,
So, Ben, let me ask you that. So, as luxury title continues to grow and you all are busy, I know that there are areas that you are always looking to expand, whether it's going to be getting the seller side and getting higher price clients and agents who are doing a lot more production. What are you seeing in your world that you're really keeping a close eye on to see how or if things are going to shift?
I've been extremely fortunate to have some really close relationships with loan originators and mortgage companies. A lot of these guys, a couple of them, in fact, do a lot of business with new construction, right? I'm constantly looking at the interest rates, I mean, we're not seeing a lot of movement right now. And if we see anything, it's actually moving up a little bit, right? In
Hmm.
terms of, yeah, I mean, I'm just hoping that maybe we'll get some relief and, and the refi boom will hit again because, we'll be able to do a lot of business with those guys that we really haven't been able to do over the last few years. In terms of the size of properties that we're looking for, I think that like really good title companies don't particularly hang their hat on a specific size. I think it's different with real estate agents. I know, there's some real estate, even though we have luxury in our name, luxury really comes from the service that we provide, not necessarily
That's
the
what I wanted
size,
to talk about.
right?
Let's go.
Yeah. It's not the size of the property, it's the first class service with every transaction we put our hands on. That's our logo, right? So, we're looking for agents that are full-time agents, that make this their number one career priority, right? We do, we have indicated, internally that, we'd like to grow more into Palm Beach, into Martin County, Port St. Lucie. I've had some fantastic agents that I've done business with over the years that pulled up stakes down here and moved to St. Lucie. And, I want to get some of that action back. So, we've done some things internally to market more into those counties. We've got mobile notary services. We actually have marketing reps in Orlando now that that are on our team that are helping us grow business in North Florida. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily, in short, it's not necessarily the size that we're looking for. It's the type of agent that really we're attracted to. Don't get me
Absolutely.
wrong. Hey, listen, if you're tending bar or you've got a side job and you're doing two or three, a year, we want that business too. Don't get it twisted. But it's the full timers.
Good stuff. Those who are committed, who you can actually be in front of and demonstrate your value on a consistent, repeatable basis. That's where we know that we start to see some great things happening. So, from the title side, I know that many of my listeners and viewers are going to be on the real estate side of this thing. I want to ask, what's something from the title side that you would advise us as real estate professionals to keep our eyes on, something for us to be aware of during the transaction that might make things smoother, better, or easier for everyone involved? Is there something that you see us doing? And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, I am giving our Uncle Ben the permission to tell us what we need to do better so that we are able to deliver that luxury service. So, Ben, what is it that you're seeing, or maybe that we are unaware of, or maybe something we just need to be reminded of that might make things easier, smoother, and better, sir?
Okay, all right. So if you bring a contract to luxury title and you want us to close it, we're going to need some information like from the jump. I mean, immediately, right? I'm going to need your clients' full names, email addresses, and phone numbers. I'm also going to need the other agent's contact information. If you're representing a buyer in a transaction, I'm going to need the lender's information if you have it. You might not, but if you have it, I want it because I'm going to have to reach out to them as well, right? If you are a listing agent in Dade or Broward County and you have an attorney that you've been doing business with, so you like for them to do seller side, and we do that too, right? I need their information right away. I try to scoop all that up from the very beginning because when I open the file, we populate all that information in, and then the phone calls start from me. Hey, this is Ben. I want to introduce myself to you. We're going to be handling this transaction. I'm going to be sending you a welcome email with all of my contact info, my processors and information. You're going to get a welcome email from the Qualia system for you to go in, set up an account, put in your personal info. If you have problems with that, call me, and you can call me at night, on the weekends, whenever it is that you need. I'm here to help you, right? So I think what happens, and I see this with younger agents, and believe me, I know how it is when you get your first few deals, all you can think of is, like, and you forget some of that important information. And so, it helps us as a title company if you get all that info to me right up front. And then that way I can call everybody and get everybody on the same page. In that first email that I send out, in this day and age, most title companies like for their escrow deposits to be wired, right? Now that's not a prerequisite at Luxury Title, but we do a lot of business, that isn't within a 5-mile radius of our office, right? So I put wiring instructions right in the email. I let them know for security purposes, we X out the last 4 numbers, so you have to call us to verify them before wiring. So we try to get the information right up front and get everybody on the same page. That's huge. The rest of the stuff, I'm not a real estate agent. I don't have a real estate license, and I'm damn sure not an attorney. So I leave all that in, how to populate a contract, information like that. I leave it to my boy Seth. He can help you with that if you need that. And he can also do trusts, quick claim deeds. He does probate. He's been a lawyer for 30 plus years in this market. So, I leave all the heavy lifting to him. Right.
Okay, so Ben, I know one thing that you are big on is speed of business, right? Speed of contact, speed of connection, making sure that when the iron is hot that you are striking. And you just talked about that initially you want to get as much information as possible so that you can timely get information out to all parties. And so I know in your world, time is of the essence, just like it is here for real estate. And so I want to value your time and say, I appreciate you. But before we go, I want to ask a couple of questions. And the first one is, in your professional life, in the industry time that you've been here, what would you consider your greatest accomplishment or a significant achievement in the title world? Do you have something that jumps out at you?
I mean, other than the awards that you pay for and get posted in a
Come on, man. You ain't supposed to. Man, you're not supposed to tell the ugly, dirty secrets that we know. Like, be like, oh, I got this award. Yeah, you paid $13,000 for sponsoring all this stuff. But yeah, so what's something that you look at and say that's pretty cool, or this is pretty cool, and I'm glad I got to either do this or be a part of it?
I mean, I think without a doubt, being a part of this new operation, Luxury Title, is the greatest thing I've done in my professional career. I feel very blessed that somebody out there thinks enough of me that would want to go into business with me, because I'm telling you, I said this earlier, there was a time when nobody wanted my opinion about anything, and rightfully so, and so for somebody to want to like open up a business with me and look at me with that kind of respect. Yeah, I mean, I don't have trophies on my walls for title. It doesn't happen. You don't get trophies for volume for the month or anything like that. It's different than a real estate office. We're really, I mean, it works perfectly for me because I don't want the spotlight. I want to close the deal, but yeah, like without a doubt, the fact that I'm a part of Luxury Title. And, and I'm running the day-to-day operations with my friend. I mean, what a blessing. It's a blessing, That's
it's
to
a
me,
blessing
that's the greatest
indeed.
part. Yeah.
All right. So, Ben Finley, it is time for us to have some fun. Are you ready, sir?
I am ready.
All right, this is what I did not tell you. I did not tell you about the rapid fire. But before we get to the rapid fire questions, sir, I want to tell you that you are a dear friend of mine. You're a brother. When I say I love you, it comes from my heart. And so for my audience who did not know this, I saw Ben around for 2 to 3 years before I ever gave Ben a chance. And here's why. Because I wanted to make sure, and Ben knows it, we have seen title agents come and go. Like one day they're here, the next day they're gone. But I saw Ben on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and 6 months and 2 years later, and he was always this guy that you see here in my eyes. And so one day he came and he says, hey man, I would love for you to give me a shot and see where this goes. Well, I want to tell you all that every personal transaction that I have done, Neal Oates has done for my wife, for any properties we do, Ben Finley is my guy. And it doesn't matter where he is, which company he was with. I did not say, let me see what company. I always pulled up my phone and I just called Ben Finley. And so, Ben, for that, I want to say I thank you, man. When I say I appreciate you, you've made my life, you've made my better, the lives of my agents and everyone that I coach and I have them have conversations with. They say, man, Ben Finley is a sharp dude. So I want to thank you for that, man. It goes a very long way. And that's why we're here today. But there is this thing going on, and I want to know if you're involved in it yet, if there's any chance that we're going to see you involved in this, or should I just take it out of my mind? It is this dirty little word called pickleball. Will we ever see Ben Finley on the pickleball court?
Yeah, listen, it's not my jam, but my mom loves to play. And, I got her set up with some pickleball gear for Mother's Day not long ago. And when I was back in Indiana visiting, I was playing with my nieces and nephews and my mom. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. And certainly, I'm not a tennis guy, but yeah, you want to get me out there, I'll let it rip. I mean, it might not be that often, but I certainly could do it. I can hit it over the net.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the next time you see me and Ben Finley together, we might have pickleball gear on. Well, we might be in golf gear on a pickleball court. Who knows how we're going to do it? But I have some questions that we're going to close this out with. So here we go. Favorite color?
Red.
Of course. Favorite food?
Italian.
Mickey Mouse or Bugs Bunny?
Bugs Bunny.
Like an OG, boy, you can't quit like
What's
that.
up,
Mickey,
Doc?
Batman or Superman?
I'm going with the Dark Knight. There's something.
Why the Dark Knight, Ben? I mean, besides the fact that you're in all black, why the Dark Knight? What is it about him?
Because he's battling something internally, but yet he's able to go out and save people and help the community. He's definitely not right on the inside, and I think that's kind of cool. Is that you could still be a hero in a sense, and not put that whole persona out there, kind of like Superman does. I mean, don't get me wrong, Superman's cool too, but I'd say Batman.
And so you say that, and as you're explaining it, I think that the important part of Batman is that, and you mentioned the Dark Knight, right? Having that darkness, but then being a man, right? No superpower other than this right here, maybe money, but even using his money, his resources for good. So I'm always a Batman guy as well. So no surprise that you would say that. Okay, hot or cold?
Hot. That's why I live in South Florida. Never moved back to Bloomington. No doubt.
So Bloomington is out of the question. So cold is done. Good enough to visit, but it's time for me to pack up and go.
Neal, you can play golf when it's 100 degrees. You cannot play golf when it's 20 below. I'm stating facts.
Hey, man. Okay. So I have my small Cooney golf fan right over here, and I keep it charged. So whenever I go out, and as it has been getting hotter, I make sure I clip that on the cart, and so that I can cool off a little bit, especially with what you say. If I have my cool rag and everything on me, that's good stuff. Your favorite book?
Big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Changed my life.
Good stuff, sir. And then finally, the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Answer your phone calls, return your emails, return your voicemails, make yourself available. I think no matter what you do in life, I think if you do those three things, you're going to be fine.
And you're not talking just business. You're talking about in life. If you answer your phone, return emails, return voicemails, you're going to be good.
I agree 100%. I think that's great advice.
Man, Ben Finley, brother, it has been an absolute treat. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going to ask you to do something for me. We're going to have all of Ben Finley's contact info in the show notes of this episode. Make sure that you reach out to Ben, connect with him, follow him. If you want to have a great guy in your phone, in your CRM, or what I'm going to call your Rolodex because I'm 90 years old, make sure you lock in with Ben. And if you have any questions about title, if you have any questions, even if you're happy with who you have, you just might need fresh ears, make sure you reach out to Ben. He is a fantastic resource, one of the most well-connected people in the industry that I've ever met. Ben, anything you want to say to the audience before we get out of here, sir?
If Neal asked you to do this, it's really great. You should do it. It's fantastic. And I'm going to say this about Neal. When I met this guy, there was a light about him that I knew nothing about. I felt it. I felt his presence, and I was immediately drawn to him. And so to be able to have a friend and a relationship like I do with Neal is so amazing to me. And I'm just so proud of you and what you're doing with your business and your life. I think it's super cool that, you're putting yourself in a position to help other people, which is really important for me too. And I've just been thankful for the last 10, 12 years to be riding this ride with you, man.
Hey man, it has been a treat, and what I really love is that when you and I get together, it's almost like no one else exists, right? And I know what they think when they're in the room with us. They're like, who are these two and why do they love each other so much, right? Because we change when we get around each other. And while we're here individually, when we're together, we go here and here and here. And people sort of like, okay, I want whatever they have. I want some of their time. And so it has been a treat, sir. I cannot wait to see what the rest of the year holds for us. I can't wait to see where world renowned real estate goes. I can't wait to see where luxury title goes and where Neal and Ben go individually and collectively. I believe that if we are connected, that we have great things ahead of us and that there are some walls and obstacles that are going to fall as a result of the relationship that we share. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I always do, I want to tell you that if you weren't aware of it, or if you forgot, that we love you, God loves you, and there's nothing you could do about it. And until the next time we see you or you see us, don't be average, be world renowned. Peace.
God bless.